In this video, we are going to talk about some of the basic types of flipped classrooms, because there is an idea out there that there's kind of only one way to flip, but there's actually many, many ways to use flip videos in your class. So first of all, there's front-loaded versus non-front-loaded use of videos. Front-loaded just means you have the kids watch videos at home before class time. So they're ready, they're front-loaded with the knowledge before they come to class. And the second way, the non-front-loaded, is having the students watch videos while in class or as a class substitute if they're absent. So I'm using this as a slide to show you that this is a great time to pause the video and read closely. This is from this Art of Ed. They have a lot of materials out there for art teachers, but they apply to lots of other teachers. So this is a time that you could even maybe put a pause button icon in your video or something, or encourage people to pause so that they can read more closely. Okay. So there's 5 main types of flipping that are most common and that you might have heard of. Traditional, flipped mastery, peer instruction, problem-based, and inquiry. These are not the kinds that I use in class, but I'm just going to quickly go over them. So for traditional flipped, that's what most people think of. It's you watch, the math lesson at home, and then in class time, you don't have a direct instruction. That's when they would kind of do their homework. And so instead of being a sage on the stage, you're a guide on the side. So they're essentially watching the instruction at home, doing homework in class, and you can work with the students going around and work with them more one-on-one and trying to really assess where they're having difficulties and helping them through those issues. The next one is flipped mastery. So that's when you have kind of a whole bunch of lessons or a whole bunch of steps in learning something, and students learn at their own pace. So they may be watching videos at home. They could even watch them in class, and they have to learn the information with you there in class to help them understand what they find confusing. And then they take an assessment at a certain time. And if you get 80 or above, you can then move on to the next set of lessons. And if you didn't, you have to go back and relearn the material. The next one is peer instruction. I have to admit, I don't know much about this, but it's where, as it says here, students still learn the basic material outside of class, and they answer some key conceptual questions individually in class, and they convince their peers of it. So by explaining it to someone else and convincing them of a correct answer, they're kind of reinforcing their learning, and hearing it from a peer, maybe there's more buy-in, and they can kind of see like, oh, this is how my peer figured it out, and so I can figure it out that way too. Or even since the peer teacher struggled with it at first and had a way to figure it out, they can teach that way to the peer student. There's problem-based learning. So you learn through like a process or project-based learning too. So there might be like a bigger idea. Here they talk about balancing chemical equations as just part of a bigger thing. So maybe they have to figure out what's the best way and the best kind of acid and bases used in cookie making or something. And so there might be certain skills along the way while they're doing research that they need to know, say how to balance a chemical equation. So they would watch little kind of content and process videos on those on their own while they're working on the larger project. And then inquiry-based is where they kind of find something that interests them, they do research, and if they come across things that they don't understand, then they watch videos to clear that up. All right, so those are the basic ways. These are the ways that I use them more. So about explaining process and procedure, which in certain classes use like science and art and other things, there's certain things you have to do over and over. It's great for reviewing information from weeks or months before, making up for absences, great for differentiation, choice-based classrooms, students on IEPs, it's wonderful for them because they can learn at their own pace, accelerated learners, and keeping your sanity as a teacher. So in terms of explaining a process or procedure, if there's something over and over that's very step-based and it's annoying to have to explain and it's annoying to have to understand because there's so many steps, it's great to put it in a video because then you don't have to explain it over and over and the kids can watch it over and over if they need to. So this would be like how to clean and maintain art materials, or use materials such as a Bunsen burner or tuning a guitar. So in music class and science class, whatever, how to use different parts of software. If there's things that have several parts, like a 5-paragraph essay, instead of repeating it over and over, put it in a video. This is what you put in the first paragraph. This is what you put in the second. This is how you write a thesis statement, that kind of thing. And formulas in math class, this is a great thing, something that the kids might forget and they want to rewatch over and over. This is great for reviewing information from months before. Maybe they learned the Pythagorean theorem, but a couple months later, they need to use it again in another context as part of a bigger equation. So if they forget that part, instead of you having to spend class time and explain it to everybody when maybe only 30% of the class doesn't remember it, they can watch the videos as a backup to refresh their memories. It's also great it's amazing for absences. So if a kid is out, you can say, oh, here's the videos of some of the things that we learned yesterday, and just have it as a backup. I use this all the time when kids are out. And sometimes even a kid doesn't join my class until 2 weeks in because it's an elective. And so it allows the kids to catch up. It's great for differentiation. So when you have a wide variety of learners, maybe there's some kids want to hear you talk about it live. Some kids want to hear the video. Maybe there's different projects to choose from. So they're all learning about seed germination, but they could learn in like 3 different ways that are kind of geared to different types of learners. So instead of you taking class time to explain all 3 different projects that they could do, you can have videos explaining each project, and then the kids just watch the video that corresponds to the project that they're doing. For choice-based classroom, which is a big thing in like art education, you have different stations going on in different parts of the classroom. So instead of you explaining all 10 stations, again, you can have videos associated with each station, how to use the materials, how to clean up the materials, different art techniques, that kind of thing. And so the kids that are choosing to use this station over that station have all of the information that they need. And this is a great thing to do with a learning guide, which we'll learn about later. Students on IEPs, it's awesome because they can sit there, and if class period is like when you're explaining it live, if it's too fast for them, this is great because they learn at their own pace. They can pause, they can rewind while they're taking notes, and they can go at absolutely their own pace and not feel pressured or compared to other people in any way. Oh, one other thing is that a special education teacher can also view the videos if they want to know exactly the way the teacher in the classroom explained things or what they might want out of an assignment or something. So it helps in terms of those relationships between colleagues as well, when the special education teacher can't be in the classroom. It's great for accelerated learners and early finishers. So if there's some additional activities, you could have a little corner with the additional activities for people that finish early. And again, instead of you having to explain those activities that you have maybe in a tote or the corner of the room over and over again every 5 minutes when someone finishes, they can go over, watch the videos on their phone or a class computer or their own computer or something. And it helps them learn about those additional activities that they can do in class. And that really gives the teacher more time to work with people that are still working on the main project and struggling, and you don't get torn away so often. The last thing is just keeping your sanity. You know, I've taught photography for 15 years. So that means, so I have 2 semesters because it's a semester class every year. So that's 30 semesters of teaching Photo 1, but I usually teach like 2 to 3 sections. So let's just say like 5. So, I don't know. Anyway, it ends up being like 150 times I've explained about shutter speed and aperture. And that's not even like adding in the times when I had to explain it again to someone who was absent, or explain it at the end of the semester for the review or whatever. And I just like, you know, it's fine. Like, of course I can do it, but there are certain things, like really tedious things that, like how to turn in photos on the computer or things like that, that it just, it's so much nicer to have the video. And so if I don't have the energy, or if I think that they'll benefit more from watching the video, then I just have them do that. If you have any questions, just please let me know, and I would be very happy to answer them.